All right, today we are diving into the fundamental rules of geometry. And trust me, by the end of this, our mission is to turn you into a full-blown angle-solving detective. We're going to start with the absolute basics and build our way up.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Angles are literally everywhere. The way a squash player hits a ball, how roads intersect, the buildings all around us, they all speak this hidden language of angles. And today, we are going to learn how to speak it fluently.
So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basic language of geometry, then we'll start building our detective's toolbox with a few super powerful rules, and finally, we'll put it all to the test and solve some fun geometric puzzles.
Okay, first things first. Before we can solve anything, we gotta learn to speak the language, right? And in geometry, that all starts with understanding the notation.
Okay, so this notation, m less than ABC, it might look a little intimidating at first, right? But it's actually super simple. All it's asking is, what's the measure of the angle at point B? The key thing to remember is that the middle letter, in this case B, is always the corner, the vertex of the angle.
Now, let's add the first two, and honestly two of the most important tools to our kit. They're all about two key numbers you'll see all the time in geometry, 90 and 180.
So check this out. On the left, you've got two angles that fit together perfectly to make a right angle, that perfect corner, which is 90 degrees. We call these complementary. And then on the right, you see two angles that form a perfect straight line, which is always 180 degrees. Those are called supplementary.
So how on earth do you remember which one's which? Well, I've got a super easy trick for you. Just think, C is for corner, which is 90 degrees, and S is for straight line, which is 180 degrees. Seriously, this little mnemonic is a total lifesaver.
And here's how we actually use it. See that little square symbol in the corner? That's the universal sign for a 90-degree angle. That's our clue. It means we can set up an equation. The first angle plus the second angle has to equal 90. From there, it's just a little bit of algebra to find x.
Okay, we've got corners and straight lines down. Now, let's add another really powerful tool to our collection by looking at what happens when two straight lines cross each other.
So when two lines intersect like this, they make four different angles. I want you to pay attention to the ones that are directly opposite each other. Turns out, they have a very simple and very powerful relationship.
They're called vertically opposite angles. Now that definition sounds pretty formal, but the rule itself is incredibly easy. Non-adjacent just means they aren't next to each other, and congruent is just the fancy geometry word for equal. And that's it. That's the whole rule. They are always equal. No ifs, ands, or buts. So if you know one angle is, say, 110 degrees, you instantly know the one directly across from it is also 110 degrees. It is such a great shortcut.
So we've done 90-degree corners and 180-degree straight lines. Let's finish the picture by looking at what happens when you have a bunch of angles all meeting at one single point, making a full circle.
You know how a full spin or a full circle is 360 degrees? Well, it's the exact same idea here. The rule is that all the angles that meet at a single point will always, every single time, add up to 360 degrees.
And this rule is awesome because it can take a problem that looks really complicated and turn it into simple subtraction. All you have to do is add up the angles you already know, subtract that total from 360, and whatever is left over, well, that's your missing angle.
All right, our toolbox is officially packed with some awesome tools. So, it's time. Let's put on our detective hats, maybe grab a magnifying glass, and start using everything we've learned to solve some geometric mysteries.
Let's do a quick recap of the tools we have. We've got our 90-degree corner rule, our 180-degree straight line rule, the opposite angles are equal rule, and the full circle 360 rule. Just with these four, you can solve a shocking number of problems.
Okay, time for our first case. We've got a diagram here of a squash ball hitting a wall, and we need to find the value of x. So, put on your detective hat and take a close look. What's the big clue in this picture that tells you which tool to use? Did you spot it? The clue is that straight line. If you did, you are exactly right. That's our big giveaway. It tells us we need to pull out our supplementary angles tool, which means these two angles have to add up to 180. So, we set up our equation, and now we're ready to do a little algebra. And there we go. After crunching the numbers, we find out that x equals 11. But wait, we're not quite done. A good detective always answers the whole question. So we plug that 11 back into the original expressions, and we find out the measure of each angle. Turns out they're both 65 degrees. Case closed.
Let's try one more, just for fun. Take a look at these scissors. What clues are jumping out at you? If you're thinking about those two crossing lines, you're on the right track. This is great because it means we can use multiple tools here. We know the vertically opposite angles are equal, and we know the angles along each straight line add up to 180.
And you know, this really gets to the heart of it all. The most difficult-looking geometry problems are almost always just a bunch of these simple rules stacked together. The real secret isn't about memorizing 100 formulas, it's about learning to spot the clues.
So there you have it. You now have the official Geometry Detectives Toolbox. So my challenge to you is, as you go about your day, start looking around. I mean, really look. What angle puzzles can you find and solve? Because the answers are literally everywhere, just waiting for a sharp detective like you to find them.